All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about how I am changing my training, at least as of now. People have asked me, oh, what do you do differently? What do you modify? How has your routine changed over the past few months? And there are a few things that I want to kind of cover that I think you guys will find useful. So firstly, we are really focusing on bringing up a couple of different body parts. Now, as you guys know, I have a couple of muscles that really do need to come up on me, with the main ones being triceps. So for me, at least priority-wise, putting triceps at the very beginning has just been super important. So we've been starting every session here, at least at this point, with the crossbody extension, or whatever you want to call it, in front extension. It's not technically, crossbody like this, but an extension push down type of deal here at the very beginning here with the cuff. And what I've been doing is lightening the weight somewhat, to an extent at least, just to focus on a little bit more control, but mainly to limit the discomfort at my elbows. So in the past, I have had some tendonitis in my elbow, which is not fun, does not feel good. So part of what I've been doing recently has actually been lightening the weight an awful lot, just to ensure I'm actually getting full extension, staying nice and comfortable. People have discussed whether or not you really need this top of the motion. So when you're extending, can you just come up to here and then extend? I am of the camp that you can, and I've done that for a long period of time, because remember, when we really think about what is going to cause us to fail, well, it's going to be the triceps, right? Like, it doesn't really matter if I'm coming up to here and it's more like shortened partials. It really doesn't matter. The triceps is what's going to fail here. So how important is coming like at and above 90? Probably not super important, but it will lighten the weight that you can use. So we are limiting the total amount of loading by a considerable amount, which is pretty nice to me, because instead of pushing down 43 pounds, I can push down 33 pounds and get a very similar stimulus. So that to me has been pretty important. So we're gonna start with the right side here, 33. Last time I got this for 5, I believe I had 1 in the tank, so we're gonna try to replicate that. And we'll see what we can pull off. Okay, height is on 14. Okay, so we're gonna replicate this. Here we go. Keep everything nice and down and back. Here we go, shoulder kind of down and back. And here we go. Last rep could have been nicer, but it happens. So that was 6. Probably had 0 in the tank. We're gonna keep going. All right, so another thing we're talking about when we think about how my training has changed recently, as opposed to say 3 or 6 months ago or whatever. I mean, this is mostly things that have been happening in the past month or 2, is my rep ranges. So you guys have heard me talk about low reps. This is something that objectively on paper, it's better to do. It's better to train for 5 reps or 6 reps or whatnot on paper. That's the best answer, right? But when we think about it in practice, in execution, when context is involved, there are different situations where a slightly higher rep range might actually be the better move. Okay, perfect. So in this situation, and in a lot of the times where I'm training chest, I'm training other body parts, whatever else, I like to go a little bit higher. I like to go 7 or 8 reps as kind of like my ballpark. Now, when we think about what is the fatigue cost, how much fatigue am I acquiring by going for 8 reps instead of 5, you might find that the difference is actually pretty small. This is a situation where the way you do this exercise, the way you execute, might be better at a slightly higher rep range. Slightly. I'm not saying go for 30 reps and everything, but there might be a situation where, hey, you know what? I'm gonna do 9 reps of lateral raises instead of 4. I think if you took 100 people and had them do lateral raises, and 50 of them did 9 reps and the other 50 did 4, you would find that the majority of people who did 9 reps would have form that is decent, at least passable. And then a lot of the people that did 4 reps would have form that is decent or really bad. And I think that most people in a lot of situations are going to run into bad form easier with higher weights, with very heavy weights. And again, that's fine. I'm not saying everyone's going to be a form magician every second, but I mean, there's something nice about using really good technique all the time, and kind of trying to make that the basis of what you do. So, for example, this incline press here, I'm gonna go for 7 or 8. Last time I got 6 reps with 1 in reserve, and during that set I had very good control, owned the weight, the whole movement, had really good control over it. So that was just a good kind of place to be in. In this situation, with this setup, I feel like that's better than doing this for 4 reps and kind of running into, you know, that same kind of issue. And I put the height on 2 actually and the pin on 3. So we're gonna move the pin slightly so I'm not so folded over at the bottom there. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the exact same weight that we did last time. So this involves having 2 10s, which I should be able to find pretty easily. And we're gonna grab 2 10s and we are going to go for a slightly higher rep range. So let's see what I can grab here. We got 10 there. Let's go grab some more 10s. All right, so we got 2 10s on each side. Throw this on. As always, guys, if you have any questions on anything, you guys can let me know down below in the comments. This raspberry and cream flavor from Ghost, by the way, is insane. Definitely worth a run. Goated Ghost flavor there. So anyways, right now we've got 2 plates and a 10 on each side, and we want to make this look really, really nice. So there, 3. This is way too high. What did I do here? I feel like I got the wrong configuration. Make sure your settings are always the same from week to week, man. It does make a difference. It really, really does. Stay on top of it. Pin 2, height 3. Okay. I'm just very stupid. I'm just very stupid. Height 3, pin 2. You know, look for all your pins, your seat settings, write them all down because it's going to be kind of useful to you at some point. But let's run it. So we're going to give you guys a slightly better angle. Crush it. You ready? Here we go. Upper chest. Here we go. Ready? All right. We're hooked in. We're going to go for, last time we had 6 with 1 in reserve. So this time we'll go for, you know, roughly the same thing. Maybe 7 with 1 in reserve. Let's see. Ready? All right, that was perfect. That was 6 with 1 or 0 in the tank, so we're gonna keep it running. All right, and the last thing I'll say in terms of how my training has changed, at least now over the past few months, has been really trying to nail down my weaknesses in executions and figuring out how to improve them. This is something where even if you know the right way to do something on paper where it's like, okay, this looks right, when you're in practice, sitting there or working with a client, working with someone, there is a different story depending on the person, depending on your situation. I could find the perfect way to chest press, but then you could work with someone who has really, really unruly elbows or shoulders that impinge, that don't allow them to move with the full range of motion or flexibility that you want them to. And then it's like, okay, well, how do we work around this? And it really is just finding workarounds for things. So I've talked about this in the past many times. The people that watch know this, but I have a little bit of scoliosis up in my upper neck area here. It's not bad, but it does impede to an extent my ability to retract my scapula freely. And this is something that people have reported who have a little bit of rounding at the top of their spine. I'm sure a lot of people watching this probably do too, 15 degrees or 20 degrees of rounding or whatever. But it's something where I've really had to pay extra attention to my form on kelsos and shrugs and rows and things like that, because if I don't, it just kind of becomes like a rounded, like jerk around kind of fest. And again, that's something that we don't want. So biggest thing here is for a kelso, which I'm about to do right now, is really just focusing on properly retracting the scapula so that you're actually shrugging and actually working the traps. So as we start here, I've got 2 plates, 25 and a 5 on each side, or sorry, a 2.5 on each side here. And again, our focus really is just proper retraction. If I get 8 reps, I get 8 reps. I'm not going to cry about it. The execution is actually the most important thing here. So again, some exercises are very technique heavy, some are not. This is something that is. This is something that is very, very technique dependent that you do as well. So we're really, really focusing on just always having good technique on certain things that are much more technique sensitive. Is a bicep curl as technique sensitive as a kelso shrug? No, it is not. So just something to think about. So slight elbow bend is fine. Focus on just pulling these shoulder blades back and together. So here we go. You ready? Oof. Oof. All right, 7 really nice reps. Probably didn't have any more in the tank, but if I did, it would have been a very rough one. So 7 good reps here. Again, dead stopping at the bottom, not something I'm worrying about, just because I want to keep each rep kind of consistent. So pretty happy with that. We're going to keep it running.